Hi there, Sleepy students. Library is back open, and today we're going to be reading the story Herb, the Vegetarian Dragon by Jules Bass. Are you ready? Let's go. Herb, the Vegetarian Dragon by Jules Bass. Every dragon in the forest of Nogard was a meat eater. Meathook was their leader. In the center of the forest of Nogard stood Castle Dark. There was nothing Meathook liked better than to raid the castle at night with his friends. He particularly liked the sweet taste of royal princesses, and the crispy crunch of brave knights in armor was almost as delicious. But one dragon was different. While Meathook and his friends sat in the cave planning their next raid, Herb was happy to tend his vegetable patch. Sometimes a little girl came to watch him. He grew turnips and tomatoes, leeks and lettuce, cauliflowers and carrots. He grew peas and parsnips, red and yellow peppers, potatoes and parsley, for Herb was a vegetarian. Late one night, the brave knights in armor held a meeting at Castle Dark. Bernard the Bold was their leader. The time has come to rid our forests of the fearful dragons who raid our castles, devour our people, and eat all of the best wild boar meat. Bernard declared, "We must plan a great hunt." "Death to the dragons!" the knights shouted. "Now listen carefully. The king has decreed that each dragon must be captured alive." "Alive?" grumbled the knights. "Why alive?" "Alive because the dragons we find are to be beheaded here in the courtyard of Castle Dark for all to see." "Hip, hip, hooray!" shouted the knights. Suddenly a rush of air and the sound of wings beating brought the knights to attention. Through the windows of the high stone walls, they saw a monstrous dragon flying away in front of the full moon. "A dragon spy!" cried Bernard. Then the dragons met in a huge hidden cave. Herb, who had not been invited, knew nothing of the knight's scheme. Meathook spoke. "My friends, the knights are planning a hunt. We'll be ready for them, won't we?" And in answer, dragon tails pounded the earthen floor, and the cave shook with the sound of thundering evil voices. "We'll singe 'em and fry 'em, boil 'em in a pot, stew 'em, steam 'em, the whole juicy lot." "No!" bellowed Meathook. "We shall disappear, stay hidden in our caves, wait them out. Then we shall attack, and then you can sing your songs." The dragons roared their approval of this plan. The dragons roared their approval of his plan, and their fiery tongues lashed the roof of the huge cave. As this was happening, Herb was cooking a new soup made out of butter, leeks, onions, and potatoes. He smiled, licking his lips. "Very tasty. I must give it a name. Herb's famous lake water veggie slurp." Herb didn't realize that he was in danger, that when the knights set out, he would be the only dragon to be seen in all of Nogard's forest. That evening, 100 knights in groups of 4 set forth on their hunt, each heading in a different direction. For 7 days and 7 nights they searched, but not a dragon was to be seen. Then, on the last day of the hunt, a group heading west saw a dragon in the distance. They knew just what to do. Herb was hoeing in his garden, quite unaware that he was being surrounded on all sides. As he bent to pull out a difficult weed, the knights pounced. Herb's blue flame was powerless against the chainmail mesh of their nets. His wings strained uselessly against their ropes as he was dragged away by his tail. "What have I done?" thought Herb. "Won't somebody tell me?" But he couldn't speak because his jaws were bound tightly with rope. One of Meathook's spy dragons watched from a far peak and glided silently away to report what he had seen. The king scheduled the beheading for dawn the next day. Herb was put into a small, dank, iron-barred cell. The moon appeared from behind a heavy cloud. Herb could see the beheading platform from his cell window. The executioner's great axe glinted in the moonlight. Suddenly, he heard a voice. "Psst, Herb! You ridiculous excuse for a dragon! I have a last offer to make. We've decided to help you. I've got a dozen dragons here, ready to tear down this jail and get you out. We ask only one thing in return." "What is it?" asked Herb. "I'll do anything to keep my head." "Take this," hissed Meathook, and he thrust his scaly fist up against the bars. "What's this?" asked Herb. "It's wild boar meat. Eat it and become one of us." "It's a small price to pay for your freedom," he gloated, "as I'm sure you will agree." "Thanks, but no thanks," Herb said. "I don't see it your way, so I'll take my chances. I don't ask you to stop eating meat, so why do you ask me to stop eating vegetables?" "Idiot," Meathook muttered as he flew off into the darkness. "You can't be different in the dragon world and survive." Thousands of people crowded into the square as Herb was dragged from his cell toward the beheading platform. His head was placed on a wooden block and his wings and feet secured with iron shackles. A rope held his jaws shut. A huge, black-hooded man picked up an axe and stepped forward. For the crimes of burning, stealing, and murdering, and to serve as an example for all who would dare to repeat these actions. This evil dragon's head will be stuffed and placed on the castle gates for all to behold. The crowd roared its approval. A drummer rolled his sticks as the executioner raised his axe. At that moment, with only 1 single second of Herb's life left, a tiny voice cried out, "Wait!" The drumming stopped. The executioner held his axe in mid-swing. All heads turned to see a little girl running up the stairs of the platform. "This dragon is my friend. His name is Herb. I have watched him tend his vegetable patch. I have played with him, and never once has he tried to harm me. He only eats vegetables. You must spare his life." "Stop!" cried Bernard the Bold as he moved toward the girl. "How do we know what you say is true?" The little girl walked slowly around Herb until she was standing in front of his huge snout. Before anyone could stop her, she released the end of the rope that held his jaws closed, and they snapped open with a rush of blue flame. "Nicole, get down from there!" shouted a man. Then she climbed right into Herb's mouth and sat there with only her legs dangling free. Herb gulped and tried to smile. "See? Now do you believe me?" cried Nicole. "He wouldn't harm anyone." As the awestruck crowd stared up at her, the silence was broken by a loud crash. Meathook, who was spying on the execution, had fallen out of his treetop hiding place. He lay helplessly on the ground, his wings entangled in a mass of branches. At once, 12 knights sprang forward and bound him with ropes. "That's one of the meat-eaters," shouted the little girl as she climbed out of Herb's mouth. "Behead them both," someone yelled. "Stop," commanded the king. "There is an opportunity here. If we kill these dragons, we risk an all-out war, and many will lose their lives. You," the king said, pointing at Herb, "the child says you're a vegetarian, by your word as a dragon. Is that true?" "It is, your highness. I'm an herbivore." "And you, whatever your name is," the king continued. "Meathook," said Meathook, puffing up his chest. "I'm a meat-eater, a carnivore, like my father and grandfather before me." "Very well, Meathook. I give you a choice. I will not ask you to change your eating habits. It is your rightful choice to eat what you will. But in exchange for sparing your life, I ask that you and your dragon brothers stop feasting on my people. Stop your burning and stealing and live in peace, as Dragon Herb has done." "But dragons have always burned and pillaged and devoured knights and princesses. It's what we do. We can't change." "No law has the power to change habit," the king replied. "Only you have the power to change what you are." "We can all live in peace if we want to," said Herb. "Release them," commanded the king. "Dragon Herb and Dragon Meathook, I expect your answer by the day's end." In the hidden cave, all the dragons of Nogard met to hear the king's offer. "It's a trick to de-dragon us," shouted one. "Better than an endless war, isn't it?" shouted another. "It's not as if we have to become vegetarians like Herb. We just have to give up eating people," said a large dragon from the rear. "Live in peace with people? I can't imagine it," said another. "I wouldn't mind having a nice garden like Herb has," said one of the younger dragons. "And I'll help you if you like," offered Herb. "I'll give you some seeds and show you how to sow and reap." "We must vote on it," announced Meathook. "Now!" Then all the dragons voted, and the result of that vote is recorded in the history books of Nogard. And even to this day, the story is told of how Herb, the vegetarian dragon, brought peace to the forest of Nogard, where dragons and people, meat-eaters and vegetarians, lived together in peace and harmony. So that was the story of Herb, and Herb is such a sweet soul, and I was so happy that Herb made it out alive in this story. I was getting a little worried for him, but I'm glad to see that he stuck to his morals and that at the end he got to keep his head. Anyway, you guys, if you like this book, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Share it if you think somebody else would like it, and of course subscribe to this channel and hit that little bell because you're not going to want to miss any future stories from us. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys soon.